Stansberry Show, Rock 106.9.
Welcome to Monday morning on the Stansberry Show. We're on Rock 106.9. We're online at WRQK.com. If you missed any show last week, pick up the podcast right there. You can find me on your socials too, The Stansberry Show. And the studio textable at 330-450-7625. You can also call that number. The toll-free calling option is 800-243-7625. Now, you'll need those numbers around 8:45, as I'll be passing out tickets to see Stone Temple Pilots. They'll be at Blossom with Live. And I believe Soul Asylum is on that show as well, who I think is a little underrated. I mean, they weren't great or anything, but they were, they were kind of one of those bands that in their moment, when they were out, you heard them all of the time. Since then, they've kind of like been packed up in the box, kind of gone away a little bit. Another band from that era that I feel like this is true about is the Goo Goo Dolls. You could not get away from them in the moment. Now it's like, oh yeah, remember that was a thing? Now Johnny Resnick's not good looking anymore. It's like, yeah, they're probably not a thing anymore, right? It's kind of what happened there. But I feel like Soul Asylum a little underrated. Black Gold was such a great song. There was a bunch of great songs out of that band. But they'll be opening that show up, STP Live. And that will be at September 10th at Blossom. And we'll get you in at 8:45 this very morning. At 9 o'clock, we'll take a look at a Detroit teacher who is now under fire, having some employment issues over what her side hustle is. Normally, when you and I have this conversation, we're talking about an OnlyFans creator. And teachers and, administrators and a lot of other people get very uncomfortable about OnlyFans creators working in schools and the like, but that's not what's happening. This woman is trying to become a recording artist, and people have a huge issue with what her side hustle is, with her being a recording artist. Confused, the list of recording artists who were teachers along the way to them becoming famous is long and massive. There's a lot of this. There's so much history for this. I don't understand what the problem is here, but we'll get there coming up at 9 a.m. Also, sports gambling. It's been going crazy. Ohio's had a ton of money gambled in it through legalizing the sports gambling. I'm a sports gambler. I like it. There are problems with it. And one man is telling you his story about using a third-party app to make wagers. He won, and instead of getting all of his money, the app says, well, not so fast. Not so fast. We didn't know about this. We didn't know about this. We didn't know about this. And now we do know about that. And so we're unable to give you all of your money. We'll get to this story in the 8 o'clock hour. I think a lot of people are going to be surprised when this starts to happen more and more and more, with more digital currency trading hands back and forth, otherwise known as traceable, right? And so I think more and more people are going to be shocked when this starts to happen. I think on the regular, we'll get there. We'll do that coming up at 8 o'clock. Also at 8, we got to sit down and talk to Scott from winningfornextyear.com. So this Cavs season started out, oh my God, they might be better than we thought. Oh my God, it's all bad. Oh my God, they're going to be better than we thought. Oh my God, it's all bad. It's been a little bit of a roller coaster. We've had some injuries. Evan Mobley's been injured. Donovan Mitchell has been injured. We know that. There was a growing concern for a while that Darius Garland and Donovan Mitchell were not going to be able to coexist on the same team together. I wasn't sure I saw it that way, but there was a growing concern that that was going to be the issue. Now it seems as Donovan goes down, the team kind of looking at Darius like, yo, man, we got to put a little bit more of this on your shoulders. And the headlines are he's crumbling because of this being put on his shoulders. So we'll talk to Scott about whether or not this is a Cavalier problem. Is this a basketball problem? And a lot of people will ask, well, why? Well, I mean, did a lot of these guys are just kind of like pushed in this league, get ready, go be a team without a lot of preparation before it? And obviously I'm talking about the reduction in years spent in college basketball. We have March Madness going on right now. There were games on all weekend. I'm sure a lot of you sat around and watched games the way I did. There weren't that many competitive games. They really weren't. I think there's a competition issue at that level with that sport right now. I think that's why some of the attention is down. I don't hear people talking about brackets the way they have in years past. You're not hearing about it as much. Now, if you turn the TV on, they're like, March Madness, March Madness, March Madness. They're still presenting it as being this huge thing. Sports fans are in, yes. I'm not sure you're captivating the casual audience the way you used to with this tournament. I wanted to watch games all weekend, and then by the middle of the first half, you're like, there's zero chance you're coming back. Zero. We've also have the NCAA women's basketball going on as well. Angel Reese and LSU get a win yesterday. People are all on Angel Reese for waving goodbye at a player that fouled out. I don't understand what's bad about that. Welcome to competition. You foul out. You're in the thing. She's waving goodbye to you. That's literally, people are going to go with taunting or whatever pearl they need to get in the palm of their hand so they have something to discuss. But at the end of the day, she's just waving goodbye at a player that fouled out. I don't really get it. Yes, has Angel Reese done some things, over the last couple of years that everybody didn't love, and maybe so that's what's happening here is they're piling on? Okay, fair enough, I guess. Fair enough. But if we go incident by incident, I don't think waving goodbye to a player that fouls out is really anything to be crying about. Welcome to competition. I think this is mostly being talked about amongst people who really never really competed in their life. Their lives aren't competitive in any fashion, any way, shape, or form. And so now when they see people competitive, they're like, I like it. And so they start freaking out. Angel Reese has done plenty I didn't like. I didn't think waving goodbye at a player that fouls out is going to make that list for me. Caitlin Clark, by the way, conversely. Everybody seems to love everything this woman does, except for her dad. Did you see this over the weekend? Apparently she was crying to the refs so much that her dad started to complain about her complaining. I believe it was said, lip reading analysts and the like have all said, he said, take her out of the game, my gosh. Even he thought she was starting to complain a lot. So there's plenty to talk about with all of that. We will get to that with Scott. We will do that coming up in the 8 o'clock hour. Also at 7, is panhandling here in Canton, is it going to get better or is it going to get worse with what they're doing now? We'll find out at 7 o'clock. And also, strange body odors that apparently turn people on. We'll get to that today on the program, too.
It's cool when you get up and you feel instantly connected to the world.
The Stansberry Show.
I don't know what it is.
I got them on every morning.
On Rock 106.9.
Welcome back to the Stansberry Show, 8:45. I'm going to get you an STP. That show's got live on it as well. Soul Asylum 2, I believe. September 10th, Blossom. We'll be passing out tickets all week. That'll be a good night. Both those bands. Live a little bit more than STP. Like, Live's got, it's like, oh yeah, that one. Oh, dude, I forgot about Pain Lies on the Riverside, dude. I forgot about that one, right? Live is one of those bands where they have way more songs than people may remember. They got a little too easily knocked because of Ed's like ponytail, that whole thing. Ed Kowalczyk, right? The rat tail gone wild there on Live. Yeah, that seems where a lot of the hate on that band kind of came from. But we'll be getting you those tickets all this week. Like I said, 8:45 this morning. We'll get you in. I was talking to open up the program about how I just didn't see a whole lot of competitive basketball for March Madness. Now, I don't watch a ton of college basketball, right? I'm like most of the country. Don't give a damn about it. Is it March 1st? All right, let's start watching it, right? Like, that's kind of how it goes. So I watched some games all weekend. I like sports. I like watching people compete. I'm into it, right? And I just didn't see that much competition. It really seemed like people were mostly running away with it. That's what Devin kind of saw too. He says, the Marquette versus Colorado game was the most competitive game I saw this weekend. It's the way it felt to me too yesterday watching that a little. I wanted Colorado to kind of come back and win. I kind of wanted them to get that done. Marquette ends up pulling that out and beats Colorado. We'll talk to Scott from waitingfornextyear.com about it. We're going to talk to him about basketball a lot today. It's the Cavaliers, man. It's just been one of those seasons. Up, down, up, down. Are they going to get it together? Are they not? Is Darius Garland good or is he not? Is Evan Mobley ever going to develop an offensive game? What's going on with these Cavaliers, right? There's a lot of stuff that happens. So we'll talk to Scott about that coming up 8 a.m. this morning. You know what else I watched over the weekend? And I didn't even make it all the way through it. Roadhouse? Not the original. Amazon's got a reboot. I would imagine most of you have at least heard of this, if not, plenty of you probably watched it. Jake Gyllenhaal is, he plays Dalton, the Swayze character. And I was like, all right. I thought that was a weird casting choice. I was like, okay, let's see. So I turned it on. Now, full disclosure, I hate Roadhouse, the original. And hate's too strong of a word. I don't really think about it or care about it one way or the other. It's just people talk about that movie like it can like cure cancer. And like, I didn't think it was that good. I never bought Patrick Swayze as the tough guy. I don't care how many pairs of black jeans you put him in. I don't buy him as the tough guy. I just don't see it. I just don't see it at all. I never saw it. You know, I mean, if you want to go back to The Outsiders and all of that, okay, fair. But like at the end of the day, I just never bought Swayze as like the badass throwing you out of the bar guy. Just never saw it. Never could see it. And so the movie was always ridiculous to me. I know, Red Dawn, right? I know, but he wasn't even the best part of that movie. Like he wasn't, like not even close. And so like I just never bought Swayze. So I'm not a big fan of the intellectual property. And so I thought, well, this will make it an easier view for me. Because I'm not sitting here waiting to go, you got that wrong, and it's not even the thing, and Florida, not Texas, and like all this other stuff. Like, I'm not going to go crazy. I was just looking for something to watch. That was one of the biggest pieces of trash I have ever seen in my life. It was terrible. Gyllenhaal is so bad. I was convinced he was never in the same room with any of the actors he was in scenes with. Convinced it was all green screen. Because, like, he's staring off in space as people are speaking directly to him. Nobody cares. I mean, dude, it was really, know that character's name. Don't know, don't care. The original Roadhouse was awful. I don't care what anybody tells you. It's like The Big Lebowski. Good. Not as good as the internet and Reddit want to tell me it is. It's okay. It's not as good as Reddit wants to tell me it is. That's kind of how I view both those movies, right? And so here comes Conor McGregor. And oh my God, was he bad. Now, I know people laughed at The Rock early on in the acting thing, right? People laughed. People laughed at Cena. People seem to like Cena as an actor more than I do. To me, I can't get over the fact that he looks like, what do you mean, Vern? Like he looks like Jim Varney. And I just can't get past it. Like, I can't see him as anything but like Ernest Goes to Camp. As a matter of fact, the fact that he's not rebooting those movies is insane to me. Like, he should be doing that. But people laughed at Cena. He seems to be doing well. The Rock clearly has the acting thing in the palm of his hand currently, right? Like, he's clearly figuring out the Hollywood. But I watched McGregor and I was like, you're not it. Like, you're not it. I get the name, and I get it was going to make people do it, and it's a fighting movie, so get a fighter and all this. Okay. He was, and I mean, terrible at it. Terrible at it. Again, did not look like he was even in the same room with the other actors in that movie. I don't know who directed that hot piece of trash, but it literally what felt like, one take is good, we're moving on, and like moving on. I mean, I shut it off. I didn't even finish. I saw McGregor clear out a bar. He's swinging a golf club around. He can't make out a word Conor's saying. Dude, that movie was one of the biggest pieces of trash I've ever seen in my entire life. And it was like the perfect, this is why certain things don't go to the theater. This is it. Because everybody, think about that. Jake Gyllenhaal and Conor McGregor, and it's not in the theater. That's how you know. Right? Like, Gyllenhaal can't get you to I mean, dude, the guy's been in, like, serious movies. And I hear he has acting chops. I've liked a few of the things he's in. I've never seen a Gyllenhaal movie and thought, oh, my God. Art. Pure cinema. I've never seen one of those out of him. He makes a halfway decent film. I don't think he makes cinema, right? And so but the fact that that's not in the theater, that should have told you right then and there. This isn't going to be very good. It's an IP you love. People still rant and rave about the original. Here's a huge name from the acting world, and here's another huge name from the sports world, and yeah, it'll be on Amazon. I mean, that right, like when it became like really, really popular. I didn't see it until years later. It was like a girlfriend who sat me down. I was like, oh my God, you got to watch this. And since I didn't love it from when I was a kid, from when it was out, it looked, I mean, Beetlejuice, I was like, this is one of the worst things I've ever seen on film. This is, I mean, like, this is terrible. Without loving this as a kid, you would hate this today. So I have very little interest in the second. But they've been doing more teasers about it. It's coming out. Here's who's in the cast, here's not. And one of the guys in that movie, Jeffrey Jones, is not going to be in the Beetlejuice. I don't know if it's a second or if a reboot or what the hell's happening there. But one of the big actors from the first isn't in it. And I didn't know why until this morning. And now I'm going to tell you next.
And you know what that conniving trickery is called?
The Stansberry Show on Rock 1069.
Welcome back to the Stansberry Show on Rock 1069, 845. I have your STP hookup. We'll sit down and talk to Scott from waitingfornextyear.com. We'll do that at 8. Everybody overreacting to Angel Reese waving goodbye to a player that fouled out. Michael Jordan stares over at Spike Lee. He can't guard me. He can't guard me. Everybody loves it. Baker Mayfield on the sideline grabbing his junk. Everybody loves it. Angel Reese waves goodbye at a player who fouled out of a game. She needs to learn how to act better. Okay, I suppose. Or we have social media and we can cry about every last thing that happens, so we take that opportunity to do that. Or that's what's happening. Yeah, it kind of feels that way to me. We'll ask Scott about it. We'll do that coming up. We were talking reboots and sequels and the like. Hollywood gone crazy. I made an attempt at watching the new Roadhouse. Awful. And I mean, terrible. Really bad. Now, I didn't love the first. I never bought Swayze as a tough guy. I don't see it. Yes, there are plenty of guys that you'd look at in a restaurant and think nothing of it. Once you get to the parking lot, you're going to have your hands full. But we are talking about acting in a movie and selling a character role, right? Like, we're not talking about the Denny's parking lot at 3 a.m. We're talking about movies, and I never really bought the Swayze thing at all. He always looked ridiculous to me in there. It might be because I'll be dating myself here for some of you, although if you saw the original Roadhouse in the theaters, I won't be dating myself at all. But Patrick Swayze looks exactly how the old Jordache logo used to. You know, the horse with the mane? Like, dude, that's what he looks like to me, is the Jordache patch on the ass of jeans. That's what Patrick Swayze looks like to me. It just looks ridiculous to me, always. And so I was never a real big fan, but they redid it. And Conor McGregor's in this, and Jake Gyllenhaal, and they both were abysmal. I mean, terrible. Like, 7th grade play. Like, honestly, community theater bad. I mean, it was that bad. It was just not very good. And I said, well, you know it's not any good. They got Jake Gyllenhaal, big name. You got Conor McGregor, who creates interest, and you have the intellectual property, Roadhouse, that people already have an interest in, and here it comes, it's just in the reboot. Or it's on Amazon, not in the theater. That tells you everything you need to know. Now, Monica had been listening. She brings up a good point. She's right about this. She goes, normally I would agree with what you're saying here. She goes, but the problem is that Amazon made it to put it on their platform. Okay, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. I feel like if they had a hit on their hands, they would have maybe did what Apple did, which is put it in the theater first, the movie that they made, and then put it on their streamer. But I could be wrong. Monica may be right about that. In that conversation, we also brought up Beetlejuice, another movie in which I don't love the first. Now, I did not see it in the moment. I mean, friends liked it and all this stuff, and I never really got the whole thing. I never really saw the appeal. That never really looked interesting to me. I was just never really like, all right, I need to see this. Fast forward years and years and years, and I was dating this woman, and she said, you know, we were doing the movie thing. And she said, oh my God, you've never seen Beetlejuice? Wait, I have. And then I had to sit down, and it was like homework, and we had to watch Beetlejuice. I didn't feel like it held up. I was like, I understand that if I would have watched this as a kid and fell in love with it, that I would be sitting here thinking this was good, thinking that this looked good, and that, you know, I'm interested in this, and that this is a decent way to spend my time. Having not done that at 13, this is god-awful trash. What the hell am I looking at here? It was a mess. I mean, it's just a mess of a movie, but they're doing another. And you guys have clarified, because I said I didn't even know. I was like, is this a reboot? Is it a sequel? So apparently Beetlejuice is in fact a sequel. And one of the actors who was in the original, not going to be in the sequel. Jeffrey Jones is his name. And Jeffrey Jones is one of those guys, you don't know his name, but you've seen him in a million things, and I bet at least once or twice you've been like, oh, he's in this, let's watch it, I bet it's good. He's kind of one of those. He was the principal in Ferris Bueller's Day Off. I feel like that's the best way to tell everybody who Jeffrey Jones is. he was also apparently Winona Ryder's father in Beetlejuice, Enough of You Have Seen. So they've done some Easter egg stuff and kind of put it out like, hey, here, this is coming. Here's a few stills. Here's this, here's that. And his character, and I think this is them telling you he's not in the movie. They show his headstone with the character name on it. And I felt like that's them telling you he's not in this sequel. So turns out he's not in it. And I read this at Hollywood Reporter, and I was like reading the comment section. People are like, good. That guy shouldn't have worked. Good. The fact that people have put him in anything in 20 years is terrible. And I went, oh, great. Why? What awful thing did he do? What tweet did he put out? What opinion did he not have? Did he forget to wear his mask into CBS in 2019? What the hell was it? Well, it turns out, no. It was actually really, really bad. So a minor had went to the LA Police Department to file a police report on Jeffrey. So the cops go to the house and they gather up a bunch of evidence. This is all the way back in like 2002, this was. So maybe I had known this then and forgotten it. But apparently he ends up pleading guilty, according to a report I read this morning, that he paid a 14-year-old boy to strip naked so he could then take pictures of it. And so he's not going to be in it. But apparently that's why you're not seeing him in other things. That he's run into some legal problems over the years through this, and he's run into what he should be running into, which is PR issues, and a lot of people are like, yeah, you know what? I don't think I want to work with that guy. In this, I understand. If I'm all on board, and by that I mean I'm not on board, with shoving people off the side of the planet over what their opinion is. Right? Like I heard this in a show the other day from the 90s. As somebody was trying to make a good point, they were like, actions are immoral, opinions are not. And I went, yeah. And then I thought about it, I was like, well, no, not really. Like, he took the photos of a 14-year-old boy naked. That's immoral if you ask me. And if you ask most people. Although, these days, would it really be? I mean, contextually, if you blah, 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 if you blah, 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 SARS, right, like that. But, like, I think that's immoral. Okay? But the opinion can be immoral, too. Hey, I think Jeffrey Jones should be able to do that. If you ask me, that's an immoral opinion. Right? So opinions can be immoral. But I don't like the idea of shove this dude off the planet, never work ever again. Gina Carano tells you, hey, this is how this starts, just so you know, never hear from her ever again. When it's like, dude, we should reserve that. And we should reserve that kind of anger, and we should reserve that kind of excommunication from celebrity life for actions like this. Because when you make everything on par with what Jeffrey Jones did, then we all become the boy who cried wolf. Then the wolf is always at the door. And I hate that because the wolf sometimes is actually at the door.
He's a man of many talents, but he does not have the talent for keeping quiet.
The Stansberry Show on Rock 106.
Welcome back to the program. 8:45, we'll get you into STP. I gave the new Roadhouse an attempt. Awful. Terrible. Conor McGregor has no business being an actor. As a matter of fact, when I was watching that, I thought to myself, now he's too old, but I'm just going to give you a name. I thought, oh my God, you're a Jason Statham away from this being savable. You may be able to salvage this if it wasn't McGregor. Now, I get why McGregor got the call. I totally get it. He's one of those guys. It's like, all right, that's the only reason I watched it. I knew it was going to be bad. I knew I wasn't going to give a damn about Gyllenhaal in it at all. I was like, all right, let's see how bad McGregor is. Like, that's exactly, I mean, it was the only reason I watched it. I shut the movie off one early on Friday night before he even got to it. Saturday morning, I woke up, I was like, all right, dude, give it a fair shake. Like, let's pick this up and at least see McGregor. And then when he was in it, I was like, all right. Then when he grabbed the golf club and was swinging around, I was like, well, maybe, let's see where this goes, right? No, it went nowhere and fast. But man, like, people love that original movie. And I got the Dalton Defenders. I am told Canton has a panhandling problem. Now, I find that not at all hard to believe, as I believe most cities probably have a panhandling problem. But I read an interesting story at the Canton Rep. They start talking about how at the corner of McKinley and 12th Street, you'll see that guy out there with that sign. And I've seen this guy a lot. You probably have too. Be nice. It does work, it says. He'll greet the cars whether they give him the money or not. But apparently, we are going to do something again that we had done before. We once upon a time had signs up talking about not giving money to panhandlers, and they're coming back. The sign reads, "Say no to panhandling, there's a better way to give." And it directs people to a city website, cantonohio.gov/betterway. And you can get some more information there on some local nonprofit organizations. So apparently we're going to install 37 signs across the city at intersections where people frequently ask motorists for money. How about one at the Market Avenue exit right across the street from that marathon? How about right there? Can I get one right there maybe? And again, they're going to put up about, I guess, 4 more. William Scheer is leading the Better Way to Give initiative. He took office in January, said the signs are a low-cost way to deter panhandling in the city, while also vouchers, gas, and some financial help, which I would imagine in the long term will lead to more success than just here's 75 cents that's, got my kid's candy wrapper all on it from the center council. I would imagine. Quote, "We're just trying to educate the public that there is a better way to give besides giving to the panhandlers." That again, your mayor, who added that Canton also supports the initiative. Quote, "There are so many nonprofits and they do a very good job in our community." Well, I have no problem believing that. 8 different nonprofit organizations currently are listed. The signs direct people to the website cantonohio.gov/betterway. And they will then give you a growing list of community agencies that help people facing homelessness, lack of food, or need mental health and drug addiction services. It's a city website. The city does not receive money from the donations given to the agencies. And the website also encourages people who need help to visit starkhelpcentral.com for those resources. Now, Christy Woods, a community relations director for Refuge of Hope Ministries, who I have met personally, I have met her, believes the signs give a helpful message to both the person standing at the corner and the passerby who may feel a tug at their heart as they wonder what happened or what they can do to help. Quote, "Giving $20 at the corner will buy a couple of meals, but it won't be long before another $20 is needed." That is true. I can't push back all that hard on that other than to say if I give $20 to a charity, it won't be long before another $20 is needed too. Like, that's true. You know what I mean? Like, so neither one of these things is the silver bullet. We're probably going to need a few other things. She says here, who encourage people to give panhandlers the dignity of kind interaction. Giving that same amount to a nonprofit like Refuge of Hope provides a week of meals, free clothing and hygiene items, shelter for men experiencing homelessness, a visit with a doctor, mental health counseling, and groceries. Okay, so I had talked about a similar issue here before, and this woman, Christy Woods, invited me to come take a tour of Refuge of Hope, and I've done that. It is an impressive operation. First of all, I could not believe how big it was when they walked me through there. And I couldn't believe how many things were getting done in there to combat these issues. I didn't know all of that. But she gave me a tour. I spent, about a half of an afternoon out there walking through it. I mean, sure enough, dude, they got clothing donation centers there. They help people get the right clothes. They help people with job interviews. You can come in the curtain, and a lot of nonprofits, they don't receive the kind of money that they need in order to operate at the level we wish that they would, right? That's true. She also went on to say that Refuge of Hope residents are not permitted to panhandle because the agency provides 3 meals a day, a place to sleep, and the ability to shower and wash their clothes. Quote, "Their needs are being met, and they couldn't get all of that for $20, she said. And I would agree with that. And you can't push back on that. You're literally telling me you can't get out of a CVS store for under $100 today. So don't try to tell me somebody's going to get all of that stuff done for $20 either, because they won't. Now, I like giving money to people. I've told you, when I'm working and I'm making decent money, and I make decent money for how much these people get paid to work at these nonprofit national ones. There's a reason why people are the way they are. Love is bad, and they all need to stay away from me. And now I'm going to hate 7th grade was bad to me.
The Stansberry Show on Rock 106.9.
Welcome back to the Stansberry Show. 9 a.m. A teacher at odds with her school district over her side hustle, and it's not OnlyFans. We'll get there. What we had been talking about is panhandling here in Canton. Now, I probably am guilty of taking the same roads over and over and over again, and I've obviously seen panhandling in this city. I don't think it's as excessive as some other places I've been and lived in, but it seems to be an issue. So much so that they're putting the signs back up that say no to panhandling, there's a better way to give, cantonohio.gov/betterway. And then it will, it kind of gives you the charities and, all of that stuff, and you can donate your money that way. Now, apparently, these signs needed to be reinstalled. When city officials learned that they contained an incorrect phone number, so now they're going back up. It was all of $350 in materials and ink to print the signs. So it's not like that was a huge problem. And apparently they worked very well in Dublin near Columbus. They had similar Say No to Panhandling signs in 2018 as a part of a year-long campaign to educate the public about the community organizations and resources available to help people in need. Beside the signs, though, that city also created a dedicated website for campaign and promoted the effort on social media in its e-newsletter. And Lindsay Weisenauer, Director of Communications and Marketing for Dublin, said the campaign's impact was immediate. She said the city received noticeably fewer public complaints about panhandling, and the police department also reported a notable decrease in panhandling activity. I don't know what a sign would do about that. I mean, if you're going to stand, you mean to tell me the people that are standing at the exit ramp are looking at all those other signs, the no U-turn sign or anything else? I don't really see the difference. I don't see what the sign's really going to do. Now, the signs don't ban panhandling. Like, they don't. Panhandling is legal. Giving to them is legal in Canton. Most other places nationwide as well. And it's okay to lean on a substance to get you through a tough day. If that's okay, and it seems to be, then I can't be surprised people who live on the street want to get through their tough day. You're going to buy booze. You're going to buy weed. Now,